Hey, how's it going? So a while ago I made this video.
Do you, or anyone you know, do this?
Who put the block there?
It's basically a video where I teach you guys how to speed bridge. However, I have a confession to make. I never actually use these techniques myself. Now don't get me wrong, I highly recommend if you haven't seen the video yet or you don't know how to speed bridge, definitely check it out, as that is probably the easiest way to get started. But without further ado, let me show you guys how I've been speed bridging for many years now. So there's a couple of things you're going to need before we start. The first is a mouse and keyboard or a controller. So if you're on PC or console, this is 100% going to work for you as long as you follow these simple steps. However, if you're using your mobile phone, which I know a lot of you probably are, it's not going to work unless you have some sort of Bluetooth controller connected to it. And the reason for this is you need to be able to chain build. And lastly, all you need is the Bedrock edition of Minecraft. Unfortunately, this won't work on Java. So there's two ways that I bridge, and both have different purposes for different situations. The first one is a lot easier, and the idea behind this one is you create a bridge so that you're able to see what's in front of you. And this is really good if you're trying to go through survival and you want to see the mobs around you, or you're playing a game on a server where people are trying to shoot you, and you're going to have that advantage to be able to put some blocks ahead of you. The only drawbacks to this one, it is a slower form of speed bridging, but it still works really well, and it's also very safe. There's very minimal chance of failing this after you've done it a couple of times. All you have to do is find a spot on the ground, usually close to an edge that you want to bridge from. Focus your cursor on that square, so you're looking down kind of at an angle but not too deep, and all you want to do is hold your mouse steady, try to not move your analog stick too much, walk forward, and then as you reach the square that you want to place your bridge down, just hold down the build button. Just keep it held, and if you keep walking forward as you're doing that, you're going to run into the block that you placed down, but you'll also notice that a block comes out the other side, and that's chain building. You guys might be familiar with this. If you're ever building something and you're placing down a wall and you want to do it quickly, you just hold the build button down and go backwards or go to the sides, and you find that the blocks chain while you're holding down the build button. Same premise applies for this. As you're going forward, the blocks are going to come out the other side, and all you have to do from there is jump up on top of it. Once the block comes out the other side and you can see that there's two down right in front of you, you've then started the bridge. It's then locked in. As long as you do not let go of that build button, you can then bridge across the whole time. And you have a choice here. You can look ahead of you and disperse the blocks in front, or you can look straight down and start doing a speed bridge like this. If I'm in a situation where I use this type of bridging, I do always place the blocks ahead of me, as there's a much better way to do a speed bridge, which I'm going to get into that right now. So this is the best way that I know how to speed bridge. I used to play a lot on the servers, and I really enjoyed a lot of the mini games, especially Cake Wars, racking up over 17,000 wins. Needless to say, I had a no-life summer at some stage, but it really helped me learn a lot of tips and tricks and tons of things that I didn't even know that existed in Minecraft at all. Now this can be a little bit tricky to get the hang of. If any of you get this first try, or with even in the first 10 goes of practicing it, you have my fullest respect, because it can be pretty difficult. But once you get it a couple of times, it becomes a lot easier. And why this is so good and a bit different to what I've talked about in the past is because you never lose momentum. As you're running away from someone, or you're in a sticky situation where you need to get out of it quickly, you don't have to stop to start the bridge. You can just jump straight into it. And this is also an amazing way to set up tactics for shooting people off the bridge that are chasing you or heading them off, and just another way to survive in general. And this is great for things like Sky Wars, Cake Wars, Bed Wars, Egg Wars, any PvP minigame that allows you to grab a bunch of blocks. Knowing this trick will give you a huge advantage. So we're going to break this down into a few steps. The first one is you need to get a bit of momentum. You need to be moving forward before you start this. The second step is you want to place down a block right before you jump, not after. You want to try and build the habit up of placing the block down first and then jumping over it. Now the third step is, as you're jumping over it, you want to pull your mouse or your cursor so you're looking down at your feet. As long as you have that momentum going forward as you're doing these three steps, you're going to start speed bridging. And then the fourth step, which is the most important step of all of this, is you have to hold down the build button once you place the first block. I know when I first started learning this, a lot of times I would place down the first block and then let go of the build button and then try to hold down the build button again, and it would never work. The second you put that first block down, hold down the build button the whole time. And then the last thing is, all you want to do is make sure that your cursor is in line with the bridge that you're building. That way you won't fall off to the side and you'll continue building blocks in front of you. Another tip that I wanted to add is if you want to stop bridging midway to build some stairs or whatever reason, then make sure you hold down the build button before you stop. As long as that build button is held down, it's going to prevent you from walking off the bridge in front of you. So I also wanted to show a perspective of me using a controller, and the only real difference between the controller and the mouse and keyboard, if you're using a standard controller, you're not going to be able to jump and pull the cursor down at the same time. So the most important thing on the controller is jumping and then quickly moving the analog stick so that the cursor is towards your feet. If you don't do it quick enough, there's a chance that you could just jump straight off. But thank you guys so much for watching, and hopefully you've learned something in this video. If you have, please consider hitting that subscribe button and liking the video. Or if you know anyone that could make use of these techniques, feel free to share this video with them. Or just if you're playing a game and someone calls you a hacker, feel free to send them this way so they can see how legit you actually are. But anyway, hopefully you guys have an awesome night, and we'll see you next time.